What's going on, everyone? Today I'm going to show you exactly how to optimize your listing to be the #1 bestseller in your category. So I'm going to extract in this guide I'm about to show you the hidden DNA structure of some of the best-selling listings on Amazon. So why reinvent the wheel, right? We'll go ahead and go over the exact breakdown of some of these listings and their structures so that way you can implement this in your business. All right, welcome everyone to today's training. I have a special treat in store for you today. Today's training is going to be the ultimate Amazon listing optimization guide. This is the hidden DNA of $1,000,000 and #1 bestseller listings. All right, guys, so I went ahead and reverse engineered some of the top listings on Amazon, and I'm going to show you exactly what the key components are so that way you can also have a top selling listing that converts like crazy. Wouldn't that be awesome? I agree. So let's go ahead and dig in here. Boom. So first and foremost, there are 6 ingredients of an optimized listing. Those are listing photos, title, bullet point and description, keywords, both front end and back end, and of course, price and category. All right. And real quick, before we get into the gist of it, if you get confused along the way or some of this is just too time consuming for you, I do want to let you know that my company ZonRush will professionally create your listings for you, okay? So my team is made of expert Amazon sellers and copywriters who have literally written hundreds of high converting listings. ZonRush can save you precious time and money. We take costly mistakes, guesswork, trial and error, and beginner pitfalls out of the equation. All right, so you can trust that if this is going to be too time consuming, all of this content I'm about to review for you, that you can go to ZonRush and we'll go ahead and take care of this for you, especially if you have 3 to 5 listings that you're going to be launching soon, and this is super time consuming. So if you're a larger seller or even a smaller seller, really, and you just want to save on time and you want to make sure this is done right, go ahead and reach out to us. And again, like I said, we'll go ahead and take care of you, okay? All right, so real quick, why does this matter? Well, if your listing is not optimized, you'll lose the battle before you even begin, okay? So that's very important to realize right away, because there's no point in launching a product if the roots are no good, okay? So you need to make sure that the roots of your listing are good. That way when it comes to fruition, you'll have, ripe, delicious fruit. If not, it'll come out rotten or just won't even sprout at all. So you got to make sure that the soil, the foundation of your listing is good to go. Sellers often rush this part as they want to launch as soon as they have inventory. Now, it's important to make sure that your listing is fully optimized and properly designed for conversions. Okay, that's the key word right there, conversions. So that way when you launch your product, you'll quickly gain keyword ranking through higher conversions and through that momentum get indexed for the right keywords. If you'll follow these steps closely, you'll dominate the marketplace and leave your competitors in the dust. That's the point, right? All right, so let's go ahead and dig into the images, okay? Why these are so important. It's very important that you have all of your photos professionally taken, and at the very least, have your main product image professionally taken, okay? And on the right here, you can see where I've taken a screenshot of 2 listings, and these are their main photos. So photo number 2 with the big red X on it is literally the main image photo. And as you can tell, that listing is doing horribly. But if you look at listing number 1, as you can see, it's a #1 bestseller. You can see the major difference in, just it's super apparent. The background's not white. There's all these words that shouldn't be there in the main photo. I mean, just the picture of the teeth, I mean, for this product, that just looks nasty. Just even looking at the nasty teeth, it looks gross. I wouldn't click on that at all, And as you can see, it's the #1 bestseller for a reason. look at this product. You know, it's clean, it's simple, and the colors really pop. So you can really take a lot. You can take a lot of notes and you from some of these best sellers and see about adopting some of their images, not copying their images, but adopting. You know, they have their product and their packaging out. Again, there's no other extra flags. There's no words all over the place. It's just the product and the product packaging, and it looks very, it looks very sophisticated and really clean. And yeah, you can clearly see why they're a #1 bestseller. So I wanted to show you, an extreme example, but it's also important if you can notice that the main image is professionally taken. Okay, that's another key factor. So when you're doing this, you're going to want to have at least 2 main product images to split test conversions. I always do 2 main images, always, always, always. Okay, and here's how you're going to split it up. The first 15 days, you're going to use photo number 1, and then after those 15 days, you're getting sales. You're going to look at your conversion report, and then the following 15 days, switch to main image number 2 and measure the conversion rate. And again, after 30 days, you'll have a clear winner based on a higher conversion percentage, and in which case you'll use that one and move forward with that image. Okay, so it only makes sense to always have 2. If you can't afford to have all 7+ photos professionally taken, at the very, very least, pay for your 2 main images to be professionally taken, and then maybe you can get someone on Fiverr or something to do some creative work when it comes to making infographics or something like that for you. But at the very least, you're going to want to have 2 of your main images, because you just won't know right off the bat which image will convert higher. And on Amazon, as competition increases, every bit counts. So you're going to want to have the higher converting image as your main image moving forward. Okay, so it's a really good split test to have. Now, the title, I'll go through this pretty quickly. The length is 200 bytes max, and Amazon has different rules based on your category. So you're going to want to check Amazon's category requirements, and then you'll use that as your base template. Okay, so you take what they give you, use it as a base template, and you'll be okay. Your title should have your most important keywords within the first 80 characters, or 80 bytes roughly. Okay, your top 2 keyword phrases should be in your title if you want to rank on page 1. If they're not in your title, your top 2 keyword phrases, it's going to be really hard for you to rank on page 1 for those keywords. So make sure they're in there in some combination or form. And remember, you're talking to humans. I see so many listings make a mistake that they forget this, and they just stuff the title with keywords, right? So you're going to want to avoid keyword stuffing and make sure your listing flows naturally. And a good rule of thumb that I always do is, whenever we're creating a listing, I always ask, would I click on this product if I could only see the title? So if I couldn't see the images, if I couldn't see anything other than the title, would this title capture my attention and get me to click on it? So that's a good thing to have in the back of your mind when you're writing your own title. It helps, like if you would buy it yourself, then more than likely another customer or another person would buy it, I should say. Okay, and most categories are going to have the title should have your brand name at the very beginning of the list of the title. If your brand name is not at the very beginning of the title, then I've seen Amazon actually, say you're 2 or 3 months into it and you didn't have your brand name first, Amazon will actually, I've seen them switch the title to have your brand name at the very beginning. And what this does is it will completely mess up your keyword ranking. So it's important that you get this right from the get-go. Look at Amazon's category requirements and follow their guidelines when you're creating your title, because you don't want Amazon to go in there and make any changes after you launch, because that can really mess things up. So yeah, just get it right from the very beginning and you'll be okay. Bullet points. Okay, so here's a pretty cool hack. What you'll want to do when when you're starting to write your bullet points is gather your top 3 competitors and reverse engineer them. Okay, so this is a super cool trick. You know, what you're going to want to do is find the common denominators in the bullet points. So for example, do the first 3 bullet points have the same features, benefits, etc.? You know, and you can use this example right here as a pretty good visual example. So you can see that, you know, the first 3 or 4 words of each bullet point are all caps, you know. So you should probably adopt that. They have, you know, 2,300 reviews. They must be doing something right, and they're all, you know, 4.5-star reviews. So that's really good, right? So look at how they have their structure, and you know, this is going to be one of those time-consuming elements to this entire process. But if you can find the top 3 common denominators, you know, in the bullet points, as far as, you know, how they're arranged when it comes to features, benefits, then you're going to have an advantage when you bring your product to the marketplace, because you know, they've done a lot of the heavy work for you. Okay, I'm not saying copy their bullet points. I'm saying model the structure of their bullet points. So if they have, you know, if the very first bullet point for all 3 of your competitors' listings have, you know, talk about saving money, or talk about, for this example, you know, talk about whitener and stain remover, or it's 100% natural, things to that degree, you're going to want to model those placements, because, you know, what they're doing is obviously working, and it's working really well. And then, of course, you're going to go ahead and get into your own copy and put all of your unique product attributes in those sections. And you'll also notice that the last bullet point has a guarantee. So a lot of the top sellers, including myself, I always do a guarantee towards the end. And again, it's a guarantee that you must uphold, because you can get in a lot of trouble if you don't. So don't put anything in a guarantee that you can't back up. And trust me when I tell you, a customer will come back a year later if you have a 1-year warranty and say, hey, you know, something's off or something broke or whatever, and they'll, you know, basically demand that you honor the warranty. So you'll have to do that. So make sure you're willing to do that. It's not a very high percentage, but it does help increase conversion rates. You just have to stick to it, okay? And you'll start to see, you know, a lot of bullet points, the last one will have some sort of a guarantee to it. And another thing you want to analyze right out the bat is what keywords they are using, okay? So you can look at their keywords, and you'll be able to see, you know, all the long tail combinations that they're using, the short tail combinations, where those keywords are, or most of their keywords, you know, placed in the first 2 bullet points, you know, in the third. You'll want to take note of all of this during your research phase. And again, each bullet point should have no more than 100 bytes max, okay? And you can tell the copy has been professionally written. So unless you're an expert copywriter, something like this you really should consider outsourcing. If not, no worries. Just make sure that you know, proofread and proofread and proofread again to make it sound like you're selling to a human, right? You got to get people's attention, and it's really important that you take the appropriate time out of the day to make sure you have your copy written to wow customers. Okay. Now the description. So here's the description I pulled from mobile, and as you can see, you know, for this particular description, you know, the first section is the unique attributes, second section is the brand story, and the third section is a call to action. So I thought this was really cool. You should model this when you're considering. People love to read brand stories. I mean, I know when I'm going to buy a product, I really want to see, or, you know, is this like just some Chinese knockoff or some cheap product, or is there an actual story? Is there an actual uniqueness to this product that is going to make them superior to the competition? Okay, so the description is where you can really get creative with your copy and share your brand story. Okay, so the description can have up to 2,000 bytes and include key information such as unique ingredients or design, directions, package contents, call to actions, brand stories, special causes. Maybe every dollar goes to some sort of special charity or something related to your product. which can entice a buyer to get your product right then and there. Okay, they'll be part of the cause essentially. So you'll also want to add most of your long tail keywords in the description. So this is a good place to pepper in, all of those long tail keywords that you want to be indexed and ranked for. And again, don't forget you're writing to humans. You can do HTML. I didn't go over HTML here. I just wanted to show you basically a really strong outline of how it should look if you're not brand registered. If you're brand registered, then there's a whole lot of other tools you can use, like enhanced brand content, so you can tell more of a visual story. And trust me when I tell you, it's worth investing in a trademark, because when you can invest in a trademark, the tools you'll get access to when it comes to enhanced brand content is, it's amazing. You're telling visual stories, and conversions go through the roof because, instead of a customer, having to read this, some do. If they can see a visual representation of what your brand's all about, it's more of an emotional appeal, and that emotional appeal will lead to higher conversions and sales for your business. So that's really important to consider. If you're thinking about selling on Amazon long term, consider getting a trademark so you can have access to some really cool tools like enhanced brand content. All right, so back-end keywords. So there's a lot of confusion on this, so I'm going to go ahead and clarify a lot of how the organizational structure behind back-end keywords should look. Okay, so make sure. So for this particular example, I used Helium 10. So Helium 10 is really cool because you're able to, it'll do basically a lot of the heavy lifting for you. So it's really simple to use. So make sure when you're using this tool, you go to Helium 10. The tool is called Magnet 2 Research. Type in your main keyword phrase, and then once you hit search, on the right hand side, you're going to see a little section called word frequency. Those are the keywords you're going to put in the back end. And at the bottom of the picture here, when you're actually creating the listing under the keywords tab, that's where you're going to put, that's where you're going to put all of those keywords in there, and make sure you separate them with commas. And that's what Amazon's going to use to pull the thousands of different combinations of keywords out there to index your listing, right? So yeah, the word frequency does basically all the heavy lifting for you. And I separate them with commas. Some people say you don't have to. Amazon says you don't have to, but I always do it just because to me it's easier to keep. It looks neater to me. So and it's served all of our clients really well. So go ahead and separate with commas just to be safe. And yeah, use Helium 10's tool. It'll do, I'm telling you, all the heavy lifting for you. You really want to take out any sort of guesswork when it comes to creating your listing, because like I said, you have to have the roots and everything in place before you launch, because after you launch your product, if you change the title, if you change your bullet points, even if you change the description, I've seen it have adverse effects on your keyword ranking. So for example, I know quite a few sellers who've changed their title, and they went from page 1 dominating till the next minute, like on page 10. And even when they changed their title back to what it originally was, or when they changed, something in the bullet point to what it originally was, they went to like page 8, but they never went back to page 1. So they essentially had to completely relaunch their listing because they lost all of their keyword ranking just from changing one small thing in the title. So I took note of that, and I'm like, okay, so if you want to make sure, so if you want to succeed on Amazon, make sure you do your homework and get it right the first time, because any changes you make after your launch, I'm telling you, can have adverse effects on your product ranking, and you'll essentially have to start from scratch, and nobody wants to do that. Okay, so yes, it's time consuming, but it pays to do your homework. Now, your front end keywords. So these are going to include your title, your bullet points, and the description. Okay, so the title, as you can see up here, again, we're using the charcoal tooth powder as an example. As you can see, it flows naturally in the title. They've even used some separators, and they have all of the main keywords listed right in the very beginning. So charcoal teeth whitening powder. As you can also see the bullet points, one of the very first bullet points, it says premium natural charcoal powder, okay? And then right after that, it says amazing teeth whitening. So you can see how they're, the copy's good and they're using it to their advantage. And again, the description, as you can see, the very first sentence has charcoal whitening teeth in it, okay? And, specifications, how to use, directions, kind of like what I went over earlier. That's another structure of how, if you don't have enhanced brand content, you can structure it in a very similar way. Okay, so your front-end keywords are the actual phrases you want to rank for. So you should have a mixture of both short-tail and long-tail keywords. And a short-tail keyword is any keyword that's less than 3 words, and a long-tail keyword is 3+ words. So anything more than 3 words is going to be considered a long-tail keyword. And I have quite a few other videos that show you, how to find the balance between high volume and low competition. So I'm not going to do that in this video, but that's like the secret sauce right there for getting the right keywords in your listings. You want to have keywords that have high volume and low competition, so that way when you come to market, you'll easily rank ahead of your competitors, and it'll make dominating the marketplace for your particular category that much easier. Now, real quick, I'm going to take a sip of water here. Much better. Okay, so the price. So this is critical right here. When you're considering the price for a brand new product, your main priority should be conversions, okay? Having a superior product at a superior price will allow you to convert a higher percentage of visitors into paying customers, okay? So the faster you can get sales, the faster your review count will rise, and you should really consider waiting until you have at least 25 reviews before you begin to raise your price. So think conversions, 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 okay? So on the right here, you can see the keyword phrase is at the top, charcoal teeth whitening powder, okay? And I used the Jungle Scout extension to just quickly pull up some data for me. And you can see right here that Jungle Scout is saying that the average sales price for the products on page 1 for the keyword phrase charcoal teeth whitening powder is $14.09. So you'll want to keep the same average sales price or list 20% below the average sales price until you have at least 25 reviews. And the reason for this, again, like I said, even if you have a superior product and you want to price it at $30, there's nothing wrong with that. But before you go to the market with a $30 product, you're going to need to have some social proof under your belt before you can justify the higher price point, okay? So 25 reviews is a nice little sweet spot there to have enough social proof to begin raising your price to that optimal or premium price that you want to be at, okay? And I've seen a lot of sellers mess this up where they'll launch at a higher price point, but then after they launch, they'll get a handful of reviews, but then their conversions go way down because they're just way too expensive. And even though their product is superior and much better than their competitors, which I'm sure yours is, it's going to do more harm than good post-launch, because the key to launching a product is staying ranked, and the key to staying ranked is how well you're converting on page 1 for that keyword. And if you're too expensive, like I just mentioned, your conversion rates are going to go down. And it's very crucial to understand that the first 90 days of your listing, you should look to maximize your conversions before you maximize your profits. I'm sure there's some scenarios where you can do both at the same time, but for you should stick to conversions until you have those 25 reviews, because nothing can hurt keyword ranking more than a loss of conversions. So if you're more expensive it's trying to climb back up the ladder is going to be much, much harder, and then you're going to have to do the entire process all over again, which is going to cost you time and money. So it's very important to get these things right at the very beginning, so that way, once you have those 25 reviews, you're converting like crazy. You can then begin to raise your price up and make that transition and stay on page 1 at a higher price point. Okay, so it's really important to remember that 25 reviews. And of course, the category, last but not least, right? So on the category, it pays to do your homework, like I've been mentioning, because when you're trying to find the optimal category for your product, a category can literally make the difference between 100 sales a day and 20 sales a day. And I kid you not, 100 sales a day to 20 sales a day. When I first started on Amazon a little over 3 years ago, I was in a pretty competitive product, a pretty competitive niche, and the niche I was in, after doing a really strong launch, and I invested thousands of dollars into the launch and into the product, it was just so competitive, and it wasn't until I switched the category, and then my sales, like within the next hour, doubled upon themselves. They doubled. I was like, okay. And it was the same, both categories. There were several categories for this product, but both categories had my exact product, except one had way more volume, way more competitors. But I didn't realize this at the time. It just made more sense for me to use this particular category because I thought that was the only one there. But it wasn't until I really dug into the data and looked at all the categories and really got my hands dirty for like a week that I finally found. I was like, okay, let me try an experiment, change the category, had less sellers, and then boom, because of my sales from my launch and the organic sales I was getting already in a hyper competitive category, I switched same product to a not so competitive category, and I became like one of the #1 sellers overnight. And so that was literally the difference between 20 sales a day to hundreds of sales a day. And even when I was doing those 20 sales a day for a while, it was hard to maintain that because I was having to max my PPC spend, and I was eating all the profits in the very beginning. So really do your homework when it comes to category. Don't launch in some obscure category. Make sure it's 100% relevant to your product and that there are other listings that are doing well. Sometimes the category might not look like it has as many sales as another, but if you're trying to rank for keywords, then that's where most of your sales are going to come from. And it's going to be much easier to rank for keywords if you're in the top 10 of a less competitive category than it will be being in the last 10 of hyper competitive category. Okay, I hope that makes sense. But yeah, that basically goes over everything I just mentioned. And then, again, just to reiterate, in less competitive categories, you can easily dominate a keyword phrase and rank much, much faster. And like I just mentioned, it was the difference for me between 20 sales a day and hundreds of sales a day. All right. So, and on the image here, I just wanted to show you, just as an example. So, using the Jungle Scout extension, when you can see the category here in the middle, there is only one that is in the industrial and scientific category. And you can see monthly sales are approximately 1,500 with about 50 sales a day. Everyone else, every other listing seems to be in beauty and health and household. Those are probably hyper competitive categories. And so this seller found a nice little loophole where they can dominate in the industrial and scientific category, as you can see. And again, I took a screenshot at the bottom there of the listing where I'm showing you that they're number 38 in health and household, but their main category is industrial and scientific, and they're still ranked on page #1. They're position #7. So they're crushing it, 1,500 sales a month, and they're the only ones in the industrial and scientific category. So again, just to show you, do your homework. It will pay off in the long run. Okay. And that concludes this training, everyone. So here's a quick resource list. So if you want to use my company, zonrush.co, if you want to outsource this to professionals, if you use code zonrush50, you'll save $50 on any of our listing optimization packages. Okay, and if you guys want to use Helium 10, if you use code FullMetalSeller50, you'll save 50% on your first month as well. And that does conclude this training. I hope you guys loved this content. You know, I really like this style and format. You guys, I get a lot of emails from people asking me how to appropriately create a listing. So I went ahead and went over, you know, listings that are doing millions of dollars on Amazon and that are #1 bestsellers. Okay, so if you can model what the giants are doing, you're gonna do okay. All right. So I hope you love this resource. You can actually download. I have a link to everything in the description. You can download this resource guide as well, and I'll have a link for you in the description below. So like and subscribe to my video. Subscribe to my channel. And sorry, it's a little bit late right now where I'm at. And like and leave a comment. I hope you guys love this this video. And I will see you guys on the next one. Take care, guys.